person.
Thank you, everyone, very much for coming to Nurture Nature Center today. This evening we have a fantastic event scheduled for tonight, and I'm glad to see such a great turnout. This is one of several events that's going to be held around the Lehigh Valley, designed to get feedback from the residents of the Lehigh Valley about the strategies and methods that they would like to help see in place to promote the local Lehigh Valley food economy. And Lynn Pryor is going to be giving a presentation tonight. She is the director of the Buy Fresh, Buy Local chapter of the Greater Lehigh Valley, which is a program of Nurture Nature Center. And in partnership, as part of the larger Envision Lehigh Valley project, she's been working for the past 9 months or so, give or take, on developing a fresh food, an assessment report of the Lehigh Valley's local food economy. The assessment report I've gotten the pleasure of editing is a fantastic document. It's available online, and it forms the basis of her presentation to you here tonight. So I encourage you, if you haven't seen any of it yet or haven't gotten to look at the executive summary, after tonight's event, you might be motivated to go take a look at it and see some of more of the meat of it that's available online at the Buy Fresh, Buy Local website. The format for this evening is going to be largely about discussion. So we put you around round tables. Each of your tables has a facilitator who will be helping to guide the conversation and make sure we document it and get the feedback that we need. We have a lot of content to cover tonight. There's 8 different chapters in the report, if I recall, right?
Yeah.
And each of them deals with a vast array of issues. So infrastructure and food waste and food access. We have a lot of topics to discuss tonight, and we really want to put the emphasis on getting your opinions and feedback. Your information will be built into the next phase of the project, which is to develop a plan, a fresh food access plan for the Lehigh Valley. So we're really glad that you're here tonight. We have some more people coming in the back. If you could find some open seats at the tables, take a seat anywhere. Mixing and matching with people you don't know is really good. So feel free, this is a case of please sit next to the stranger. All right. Lynn, we're going to bring her up, and she's going to give a presentation, and then we're going to take a break and discuss, and then we're going to continue presenting, take a break, and discuss. So warm up. Here she is, Lynn Pryor. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Is it working? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Is that too loud? It's really loud. Okay. Public participation in these food forums is really important, and I really appreciate that you all gave your time to be here tonight and be part of it. So as Rachel said, last week we released this assessment report of the local food economy. And we're having these food forums this week and next around the Lehigh Valley to have public discussions about our local food economy and get your feedback on what you think is important for us to move forward with our local food economy and improve fresh food access here in the Lehigh Valley. So we were commissioned to do this work by the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation, and they received a grant from HUD to create a sustainable community plan for the Lehigh Valley. There are 14 different organizations involved in this process, and we're looking at 5 major topics, and we have the fresh food access issue. So for each of these 5 topics, a plan will be created, and they'll be given to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, who will take them and incorporate them into their comp plan and come up with a sustainability plan. So the first step for us was to create this assessment report. And as Rachel said, it's online at our website, buylocalgreaterlehighvalley.org. About 120 pages, and got some nice pictures. You don't have to read it off. But it sets out both the challenges and opportunities with our local food economy. So the biggest challenge facing us right now is that we're losing farmland. We have 650,000 people living here in the Lehigh Valley now, and we're expected to have another 45,000 in the next 20 years. So this will put tremendous pressure, development pressure on the farmland that we have. The Lehigh Valley Planning Commission said predicts that this will change the nature of our municipalities. So right now, we have 17 rural municipalities. Those are the green ones up here. And they're predicting that by the year 2040, we'll only have 7 left. So we'll lose 10 of our rural municipalities will become suburban. And we'll only have 2 rural ones left here in Northampton County. So it's a critical time here in the Lehigh Valley for us to make decisions about whether we want to preserve our agricultural heritage. So we also have some great opportunities with our local food economy. A vibrant local food system can have a significant impact on our local economy. Here in the Lehigh Valley, we spend about $1.5 billion every year on food, and only $3 million of this is going directly to our farmers. So most of this $1.5 billion is leaving the Lehigh Valley through the purchase of food imports. The good news is that there's a great opportunity here for us to recoup some of those food dollars and keep them in our community. The other good news is that our local food economy is growing. The blue line shows the number of farms selling directly to consumers, and it's increased by 60% over the past 20 years. And the red line is the value of those sales, which has increased by over 300%. So in 2007, which are the last numbers we have, the value of our sales directly from farmers to consumers was $3 million. So the USDA estimates that total food sales, which would include those direct from the farmer to consumer sales, plus wholesale purchases, that the total food sales is 4 times greater than those farm direct sales. So we can estimate that our total food sales in the Lehigh Valley are about $12 million. Local food purchases can have a notable impact on local economies, especially in comparison to shopping at national chain stores. So national chain retailers return an average of 13.6% of revenue to the local economy. When you go to the store and spend $1, 14 cents of it stays here in the community. In comparison, when you shop at purchase locally grown foods, there's a much greater impact on the local economy due to the multiplier effect. The multiplier effect is the number of times the dollar circulates in a community before it leaves through the purchase of imports. So when you purchase food from a local farmer or a local business, those people are living here in our communities and they're buying their inputs here, like seed or farm equipment or a local accountant, and they're also purchasing things for personal consumption like food and clothing and entertainment. So the multiplier is specific for a region and a sector, economic sector, and Penn State determined it for the Lehigh Valley for locally grown foods to be 1.449. So that means that for every dollar spent here on locally grown foods, an additional 45 cents in economic activity is generated for the Lehigh Valley. So when you compare that back to the big box store, by purchasing locally grown foods, you're investing 3 times more in your community. And this multiplier effect is even greater for fruits and vegetables. For fruits, it's 1.663, and vegetables, it's 1.647. So for every dollar that you spend on local produce, an additional 66 cents in economic activity is generated for the Lehigh Valley. So applying that multiplier effect of 1.449 to our $12 million in total food sales means that the economic effect of the Lehigh Valley local foods is over $17 million. So that's great, but we still have room to improve. So on average, Lehigh Valley households are spending just $48 of their $6,000 food budget on locally grown foods, and that's less than $1 per week. If each household would up that to $10 per week just during the growing season from May to November, it would generate $97 million in economic activity for the Lehigh Valley. Okay, so another opportunity that the local food economy presents is a way to improve fresh food access. In 2006, the USDA began identifying census tracts that had low food access, and these were classified as such if the rate of poverty was over 20% and more than a third of people lived more than a mile from a full-service grocery store. So they classified 4 areas in the Lehigh Valley with low food access, and we've mapped these out. The red dots are full-service grocery stores. The yellow dots are limited-service grocery stores. The green dots, which there aren't any on this map, are farmers markets. And the dotted lines are bus routes through those areas. So you can see, looking at these, that there's a real scarcity of conventional food services. So this year, the USDA updated their mapping tool with new population, finance, and store location data. And now we have 8 areas of low food access here in the Lehigh Valley. So the issue is getting worse. These areas don't have conventional food retail stores, likely because of the lack of potential profit for these stores. So possible strategies to improve access have to look at alternative retail options. The assessment report identifies a number of alternative food resources, and the most obvious one is our producer-only farmers markets. We have 10 producer-only farmers markets here in the Lehigh Valley, and although none of them are located right in those low access census tracts, we have 4 that are within the urban areas, and people can access them either by walking or by transit. There is a perception that prices at farmers markets are higher than at conventional grocery stores, and for some items such as pastured meats and eggs, this is definitely true. But for numerous studies have found that prices for produce at the height of season are often cheaper at farmers markets. So the ability to use SNAP benefits, which are food stamps, at farmers markets greatly improves access for low-income shoppers, but market-wide EBT programs are really expensive to operate since the market has to pay for the transaction and service fees as well as staff to operate the program. So we only have one market-wide EBT program here in the Lehigh Valley at the Easton Farmers Market, and it's been running since 2010. And there's been a steady increase in the number of SNAP benefits that have been redeemed at the market since the program started. Last year, there was an average of 9 transactions per week, resulting in a yearly total of over $5,000 in SNAP redemptions. And the numbers aren't in for 2013 yet, since the market's still operating. But at their new Wednesday afternoon market, they redeemed, there was over $1,000 in SNAP benefits redeemed. At other farmers markets, individual farmers may be approved by the USDA to accept SNAP benefits. So there's the Rodale Institute at the 7th Street Market and Bechtel Orchards at the Bethlehem Farmers Market. And several studies have shown that incentive programs that encourage the use of SNAP benefits at farmers markets boost the purchase and consumption of fruits and vegetables in underserved communities. So this past summer, the Kellen Foundation purchased food at Easton Farmers Market and cooked up healthy meals at the Weed and Seed program in the West Ward, and gave participants a taste of the meal and also a $10 voucher to use at the farmers market. A total of 275 of these vouchers were redeemed this summer. So another strategy for improving food access in low-income areas are farm share programs. And like the CSA, they're weekly deliveries of fresh produce from a local farm to a neighborhood. But unlike CSAs, you don't have to pay for the whole subscription up front. You can pay on a weekly basis, and often farmers accept SNAP benefits. So we organized 3 of these programs this year, one in each of our 3 cities. And we had 71 people signed up to receive weekly deliveries. And participants in the West Ward indicated, 77% of them indicated that they would definitely join again next year, and they rated the program 9.2 out of 10. So we'll be looking to set up some more of these in the coming year. Then there's some other options for alternative retail, online markets, food co-ops, and mobile markets. We have a picture here of the Lafayette Tech Clinic delivering fresh produce to the West Ward. And also the Allentown Veggie Van. Okay, so all of these alternative retail options require a vibrant local food system. So for the next half of this presentation, we're going to talk about 4 topics within our local food economy, and I'll give you a brief overview of the topic and some examples of strategies that people have used around the country to try and improve the issue where they live. And then I'll turn it over to you, and you can discuss the topic and the strategies at your table, and you'll be given surveys, and we're asking you to rank these strategies and let us know which ones you think would be useful for the Lehigh Valley. So the 4 topics are land, farmers and production, infrastructure, and consumers. All right, so local food economy involves all the steps and resources to get food from the field to our tables, but none of it's going to happen if we don't have farmland. And we've had an 80% loss in the number of farms since 1930 to 2007, so that we only have 1,002 farms left. And we've lost 53% of the number of acres of farmland, so that now we're down to 153,000 acres. And particularly between 2002 and 2007, we lost 103 farms in the Lehigh Valley, which is 10% of our remaining farms. So if we continue at this rate, we won't have any farms left in 50 years. According to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, land is being converted to housing, commercial, and industrial uses at a rate of 3.5 square miles per year. And housing accounts for 80% of this. So the expected arrival of 145,000 more people over the next 20 years is going to put even more pressure on this remaining farmland. So 153,000 acres sounds like it could be a lot of land, but how much land do we really need to feed ourselves? A study done at Cornell University determined that it takes about an acre per person for the typical American diet. And since we only have 153,000 acres of farmland left, and there's 650,000 people here, we can only feed about 24% of our population. And that's assuming that all of our farmland is used to actually grow food. The most common crops grown in the Lehigh Valley are corn for grain, soybeans, hay and silage, and wheat. This is a color-coded map of what's being grown here, and you can see the predominance of the yellow corn. And there's 55,000 acres of corn for grain being grown out of the 153,000 acres that we have left. And vegetables are only about 2,000 acres. The amount of farmland being used to grow corn for grain has doubled since 1954, and the amount of land used for soybeans has multiplied by 18 times. Vegetables have also doubled, although it's a much smaller amount. And oats and barley have decreased considerably, and we've lost about half of our orchards. There is some good news. Both counties have been busy preserving farmland since the early 1990s. Farmland's preserved when the counties purchase the development rights from the farmer, so the farm still stays in private ownership and can be sold, but it can't be developed for anything other than agricultural purposes. So all of these green squares are farms that have been preserved. And about 21% of our farmland has been preserved. So funding for farmland preservation comes from the state, but the amount awarded to each county depends on how much the county puts into their own program. So in recent years, Northampton County has been generously funding its program and using earned income tax from 7 of its municipalities to increase its allocation. So in 2012, it allocated $3.9 million, which was the largest allocation for any county in the state. In return, they got $2.2 million from the state. Lehigh County, in contrast, they started out really strong in the 90s and actually have more acres preserved in total. But in 2011 and 2012, they didn't contribute anything to their farmland preservation program. So county policy about farmland preservation is definitely going to affect whether we keep our rural nature or not in the future. So another issue relating to farmland is access to farmland for farmers. As residential land increases in price, development is causing prices to go up. Farmers can't afford to buy land. And only 17% of our farmers actually own all of the land on which they're farming. 62% of the land is rented. So there are a variety of policies in addition to farmland preservation that governments can use to improve land access for new farmers. One strategy is that local governments can make public land available for food production. So things like vacant lots, fields, schoolyards, parks, and utility rights of way could all be transformed into farming plots. And this is a picture in the city of Baltimore where they're doing 5-year leases of their vacant land for farm plots. So other possibilities include creating a database of all of the vacant public and private lands in the Lehigh Valley that could be used for food production, creating a program to connect new farmers with landowners who want to keep their property in agricultural use, offering tax incentives to landowners for selling or leasing land to beginning farmers, and everybody's favorite, growing on rooftops. So this is a picture of the Brooklyn Grange in New York City, and they're growing 40,000 pounds of organic produce every year on 2 rooftops. Just all of the land issue problems. We're moving on to farmers and production. So the average age of our farmers continues to rise, while the number of farmers under the age of 35 continues to fall. Right now, there are currently 5 times more farmers over the age of 65 than under the age of 35. So barriers to farm entry, such as access to land, capital, and training, continue to be significant obstacles for our farmers. Luckily, we have the seed farm here in the Lehigh Valley, which is training a new generation of farmers, some of whom are here. Apprentices receive over 600 hours of coursework and hands-on training in their first year. And am I still on? Yeah. This covers all aspects of running a small organic vegetable farm. So the seed farm is a nonprofit and gets some funding from Lehigh County. In order to produce more food on the land that we have, all farmers require continued training in best practices, access to innovative research, and support, which is provided by Penn State Cooperative Extension and Tiana. So Extension is funded by both counties at about $500,000 a year, and by Penn State at $700,000 a year. If we're making a sustainability plan, we also have to look at production methods. And here in the Lehigh Valley in 2007, there were 25 farms that were certified organic and another 14 farms that were being converted to organic. But these numbers probably don't reflect the number of farms that are using organic methods, since a lot of them, our smaller farms, aren't actually certified. And that's one of the perks of local food economy, is that the farmers can talk to their customers and let them know about their growing practices without actually having to have the certification seal. Another alternative is certified naturally grown, which is a peer review inspection based on the USDA organic standards, but which minimizes paperwork and fees, and is often a better fit for our farmers. So food production in the Lehigh Valley can also be supplemented by other sources, such as the Easton Urban Farm and Sophia. There she is. So zoning ordinances have been amended in many municipalities across the country to allow and encourage both urban farming production and sales. Other sources, supplemental sources of food production, include community gardens, school gardens, and home gardens. And all of these can improve food access. So climate change is going to affect food production here in Pennsylvania. It's expected that within a few decades, temperatures will rise by 2.5 degrees, and we'll have a significant number of days over 90 degrees in the summer. And when temperatures get this hot, some plants stop producing, and the amount of milk that cows produce is reduced. It's also expected that we'll have increased rain in the winter and spring, which could delay planting. And also, we're expected to have increased droughts and more frequent extreme weather events. So the demand for locally grown foods is growing at home, but also away from home. There's a significant number of large wholesale buyers here in the Lehigh Valley at our public schools, colleges, hospitals, corporate dining services, retirement communities, and prisons. And local food procurement policies can have a significant impact on a local food economy by encouraging or requiring the use of locally grown foods in their cafeterias and food service facilities. Cities and counties across the country have been improving their local food economies. So here in the Lehigh Valley, a number of colleges have started to source local foods. But wholesale buyers may require changes in their facilities to be able to cook with whole foods. Especially in our public schools, a lot of their kitchens are just heat and serve facilities, so they're not equipped to handle whole foods. They might need new equipment, new skills, new training, and new food safety protocols. So infrastructure is critical from getting the food from the farmers to the wholesale buyers. And as our food system has shifted away from local production toward global sourcing, we've lost a lot of this infrastructure. So there's many different types of infrastructure, and if you want, we can go through them all, stay till about midnight, or you can read the report. But just to summarize, we have an absence of many of these facilities. There are a few in surrounding counties that farmers are using, but there's definitely some opportunities here for growth. Last year, the Wallace Center put out a report that said the greatest potential for positive impacts on local economic development and job creation are with local food hubs, food business technology companies, and food business incubators. So our local governments can invest in local food production with direct public financing, but they can also provide government resources. They can streamline permit processes. They can support new products and certification standards, provide incentives such as tax rebates, offer technical assistance in business skills and risk reduction techniques, and provide political support. And this is the one that we all know the most about, since it's consumers. So we're spending about $1.5 billion on food, as we said earlier, and the average Lehigh Valley household is spending about $6,000 a year on food. But we're spending 60% less of our disposable income on food now than we did in 1929. Sorry. We're also eating out a lot more than we used to. What used to be an occasional luxury has now become half of our food purchases. And this shift in eating patterns has consequences for our health. Studies have shown that increased away-from-home food intake are associated with poor diet quality, increased intakes of fat, and lower intakes of fiber. Consumers in the Northeast are also spending about a third of their food budget on the category other food at home. And this category includes sweeteners, jams, candy, non-dairy fats, such as shortening and margarine, oils, frozen prepared meals, snack foods, condiments, prepared foods, and non-alcoholic beverages other than pure fruit and vegetable juices. So what we eat can have a significant effect on our health. Eating healthy foods, particularly fruits and vegetables, can decrease the risk of chronic diseases such as heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. But most people don't eat the recommended amounts of fruits and vegetables. So there are numerous policies that local governments can implement at retail stores to help people make better choices. As an example, in New York City, they implemented the Healthy Bodegas initiative, and they provided fresh carrots and apple slices to over 500 bodegas and asked them to promote the health benefits of eating fresh fruits and vegetables. And the owners found that people purchased more fresh fruits and vegetables from this initiative, and they in turn began offering more produce. You can also implement policies to support alternative food resources. And of our 10 producer-only farmers markets, 5 of them are supported by the municipalities that they're in, and the other 5 are supported by private businesses. Another example in New York City is that they implemented a green cart program where they allowed permits for 1,000 mobile carts to sell fresh produce in underserved communities. And they also awarded low-cost microloans so that they help finance the carts. Another way to support a local food economy is to make acquiring locally grown foods more convenient for people. And one of those ways is to have food available at the workplace. So this year, St. Luke's Hospital set up a CSA delivery at two of their locations, and they had 81 people sign up to receive weekly CSA deliveries. So we can also direct policies toward consumers, such as public health campaigns about nutrition and food preparation, farm-to-school programs, and as we talked about earlier, incentive programs for the use of SNAP benefits at farmers markets. And then another strategy to improve food access is to promote animal husbandry. So a number of municipalities have updated their zoning and health codes across the country to allow not only chickens, but beekeeping, rabbits, and even goats. So we still need some effort there. So a sustainable food system means that we also have to reduce our food waste. While many people are food insecure in the US, 40% of our food goes uneaten. And the USDA estimates that supermarkets waste $15 billion worth of fruit and vegetables every year. And much of this food is edible. So food rescue efforts, both at retailers and distributors, can help improve fresh food access. And then finally, there's a number of actions that we can take as individuals to both improve our own fresh food access and improve our local food economy. So we can make a greater effort to choose locally grown foods over imports. We can pay our farmers a fair price for the food, and we can plant gardens.